Hello, 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 and welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you for tuning in week after week. This week we are covering Daehoon. Actually, this may not be as long as the other people I've had to watch and I've covered because I think Daehoon's game is, at its core, is very simple. It's a very simple game, but he's really good at executing on it. He's physically stronger than most of his opponents. He is very accurate, and his defense is um, really, really good as well. He's all around just a complete fighter. Now, some history on Daehoon. I know that so when I before I left the US in 2011, my trainer was Chomli Go, and now is Chomli Go. But Chomli had retired the year before in 2010 after fighting Asian Games against Daehoon. So it's 2019, Daehoon's still fighting, um, and he's been on the scene for a long time. Now, what I like about Daehoon the most is he's actually the one I attribute to catering and pushing the game to where it is now. Because earlier, I hadn't watched too much of his fights earlier, but I did finally see him fight in the 2014 Asian Games, and Asian Games is I think second or third just under Olympics. It's a very difficult competition. Um, it's really big, and a lot of countries really send the best of the best. Now, I saw him in 2014 Asian Games, and he gapped I think literally everyone in his division. Like there's 30, it was like 35 to 15, 30 to 10, 29 to 0. He completely decimated everyone because his offensive pressure, I think after they'd figured out what techniques he liked, which is his right leg in front. He always fights right leg in front. Right leg in front, cut kick, really strong. He has a cut flick to the head. He has a front leg axe kick. Um, in the clinch, he has an inverted kick, he has a body kick, and he has the head kick. With his left leg, he usually does a body shot, one leg to the body, and sometimes he does 1, 2, and then turns it over for a flick, and he has a back kick. He only has like 6 weapons, but he uses them all very, very well, and he's the first one to take to push the offensive game, in my opinion, because a lot of times before I think Daehoon started doing it and started winning a lot of people would wait and they'd kind of inch forward, but they wouldn't put as much pressure as Daehoon constantly puts on his opponents. And what I mean is a Daehoon, if there's like a 3 second countdown, and if you do not kick at Daehoon, Daehoon will kick at you with a very accurate cut or with a very accurate body shot underneath. Um, that being said, it's kind of like when I think it was University of Oregon that started it for the Pac West. When the University of Oregon usually for football, American football, there's a 40-minute break, if I'm not mistaken. There's a 40-minute break between plays where players can get on the same page and then get set up, and then they run the next play, and then 40 seconds, et cetera, et cetera. I heard from Eric Thomas that the University of Oregon took the 40 seconds and they reduced to 9 seconds. And so every 9 seconds, Oregon's running a play and that really put a lot of offensive pressure on the defense for the football team, and the defense was not able to keep up with that kind of stamina. And Daehoon brought that kind of mentality into the Taekwondo game, where if he's not engaging, or if you don't engage him, he will engage you. And if you do engage him, then you better be ready because as soon as you're done kicking, he's going to be kicking at you again. So in essence, you're doing you have to fight every 3 seconds. And I'm not sure if you guys have ever tried kicking a target every 2 seconds or every 3 seconds, full blast, like trying to score. And after the first minute, you're dead. Usually, like if you're not conditioned well, usually after the first minute, minute and a half, you're like dead. Maybe you could make it to the second round, but no one was conditioned like Daehoon, especially going through his time, where you could last the whole time against him. Like no one lasted till third round. And then now recently he's tapered his game down a little bit. I think GBR was the first one to hand him his loss in Wuxi because of the way the round superiority was, and they were able to find holes on his flank on his way in. And then because the round reset, the points aren't aggregate, but if you had counted the points, I think Daehoon would have been down by 4 points going to the if they'd done it the way traditional where all the points are accumulated. Daehoon would have went to the third round, 4 points down, I believe, and now you have to deal with Daehoon with all the information um, Daehoon holding the information and coming at you in the third round with the stamina that he's coming at you with the first round. So I'm not sure if Bradley would have been able to hold on for the third round had it been old school, but props to Britton for adjusting the style. Props to Britton for um, seeing that and taking advantage of the new layout. And so I think Daehoon has toned his game down a little bit just to cater to what may happen in the Wuxi events, because in Wuxi they tend to try out a lot of stuff. There's the round superiorities, there's the aggregate points, but you're going to do 5 rounds in the finals. So China's playing around a lot with how do we make this more spectator friendly and more relevant or more exciting for the audience, because the more audience you have, obviously, the more ads and money, et cetera, et cetera. Um, anyway, that was a very long tangent to say that when Daehoon's game was first evolving, it was high pressure, high pressure, high pressure. He's toned it back just a little bit, and I think he's done that one because the way the Wushi's laid out, but two because his opponents are finally like, dude, if Daehoon can last that long, then we can last that long. And now everyone's stamina game is uh, become like reaching that level. And Daehoon was the first, really the first one to do it, and he's still around and he's still winning. So major prop. This isn't Daehoon. This is the Taipei fighter. Major props to Daehoon for bringing the game to where it is now. That was a really long tangent just to give this guy props because it's very important to recognize who brought the game where. And his style, like I said, is very simple, but it's in your face constantly, and that's what wears you down. So we may not spend as much time because uh, we may not spend as much time on Daehoon videos, but I want you guys to watch these clips and how often Daehoon's engaging, how good his defense is, like both with footwork and with blocking, and then how he's right back in the opponent's face right away. And that's watching Daehoon's game, watching Ramnarong's game. This is why I'm a big proponent of pushing the offense all the time, because you're the one who creates the opportunities, and you're not waiting for your opponents to make a mistake. Like you force your opponent to make mistakes and then you capitalize, which over a larger scale of games will win you more games. So this is the final of World 2017. World 2019 is coming up, so good luck to everyone who's fighting there. Not really sure what language they're speaking. This is covered in multiple languages. So, like I said, if you're not kicking in 3 seconds, Daehoon will kick. And so Taipei is kind of bringing the offense to Daehoon a little bit. Daehoon's like, that's fine, cool. We'll see whose stamina still lasts later. Like, are you still sharp third round when you're breathing heavy? Because he'll still be sharp, but are you? I heard, I'm not sure if this is exaggerated, but I heard that Daehoon, at least in this World Championships, had the stamina to kick for 6 rounds straight. Like, if he needed to, he would could kick for 6 rounds straight. Like, that was where he peaked stamina wise. And I don't know if you guys have ever tried doing that, but usually most people don't even last one or two, and Daehoon's capable of doing 6. So Taipei here doing a good job of pushing the offense. Daehoon's doesn't mind if he doesn't see what he doesn't like for one of the weapons he has, whether it's his front leg here, or his back leg to the body, his front leg to the head, whatever the stuff in the clinch. If he doesn't see any of what he likes, he doesn't take it, and because he's the one pushing the offense, he's in his face again. Because he's the one pushing the offense, he has liberty to pick the shots he wants. And also notice how well he's good at controlling distance here. He's like just on the outside, like just on the outside of distance. So that way, when you miss, you have the mental pressure of he might actually kick me after if I miss. And all that, like the mental drainage versus the physical drainage together, is really hard to fight against. Like he forces an engage every couple of seconds. Um, and it's very basic. It's very just cut, flick. His arms are really good. He does have a left hand punch, which I forgot to mention. Inside on the right leg, he has an inside twist kick and the headshot from the right leg. We did have one of our fighters actually fight Daehoon before, and he said it's hard to fight Daehoon because it seems like he's right in front of you, but you never can hit him. And then as the game goes on and you just still can't hit him, you're like disheartened that you can't hit him, and now he's still hitting you, and he still has the stamina, and it just feels like he has your game figured out from before you even start. I also heard he kicks like a truck. Like the guy who fought him told us that they kick as hard as I do, and Daehoon's I think 80 pounds lighter than I am. I did hear from another video from the announcer guy that I'm really gonna fast forward. So it's 9-0 now. The ending score of this is like 26-6 because Taipei like cannot last against. See, Daehoon's still in his face, and Taipei can't even kick anymore, and Daehoon's just punching the crap out of him. Um, he kicks like a truck, like he hits as hard as I do. I heard from another announcer that he does. So I was gonna point this out. 0-0 near the end of the first, really kind of close. Last round because he's um, so aggressive. This turns into a humongous deficit, and you really get at changing the variables. He does 20 minutes of core every day without fail, and so that's probably why he can stand for so long. At this point, he's the actually I don't know. I wasn't able to find the fight, but him, Daehoon versus I think Musini of Iran. This finals, him against him against Iran in Asian Games 2018. If you guys can find that fight, that's a really good fight. Um, and that fight showed me how confident Daehoon was with his head movement. Like you'd never imagine like training your head. It seemed like Daehoon had trained his head because in the final fight, um, it was very close, and Iran has this crazy inside out. Like it's really hard to defend, and it got to a point where Daehoon was defending it by just rolling his head back. So that told me Daehoon probably trains his head, as in like people kick and he probably just tries to evade with only his head. Because if a foot came up to here and was like literally searching for his head, and Daehoon was just like. So if you guys can find that fight, I wasn't able to find it, but if you guys can, Lee Daehoon Asian Games 2018 final. If you guys can find a good copy, cool. Watch that one. Um, this is another example of Daehoon just wearing the other guy out. Second round. And it's also kind of hard for this guy because, I mean, the height difference is humongous. Props to him for still trying. That was like 3 seconds, right? Good. So Daehoon does this. Look. Boom. Okay. Reset. 1, 2. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Back in. 1. If you're not engaging, Daehoon engage. So 1, 2. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like Daehoon, even Daehoon's winning by a considerable amount, by over 10 points. And every 2 seconds, every 3 seconds, he's still forcing engaging. And that's incredibly draining. Like it's something you guys should try on your own if you guys want. This guy's stamina is crazy good. I want to cover a little bit of this Denisenko fight because Daehoon actually almost lost this one. He won in sudden death. Daehoon, Denisenko and Lee Daehoon fight each other a lot, so they're very familiar with each other's style. Um, what Denisenko does, which I think is good, is he's usually in small spaces. Usually people will only do the one shot, and then put it down, and Daehoon braces for that. But Denisenko is able to break it a little bit by keeping his foot up and flicking. I think that one scored. No, the next one does. They even trying to counter by doing the flick kick as well. Boom, boom. I think he's able to score on the next bout. Yeah. Russia's able to score, and it's all based on what's it called? Him just holding it up after and kicking. And this is I haven't seen too much of the other ones recently because I haven't been having my eye as much on the game as maybe I should have. But that seems to be working here. Daehoon's a little frustrated. So the defense against Daehoon that Russia has is instead of kicking only once and trying to exchange one for one, Russia keeps his leg up and tries for the second one inside the clinch. The second thing Russia does also, I think he gets Daehoon with the head kick later. Let me try and find it. No, no, that's not it. That's not it. Of course it would freeze. Uh, Daehoon's not as high pressure, I think. Oh wait, Russia pulls ahead. Where does Russia pull ahead? Denisenko actually leads the whole match because now you know he has to come in. Got some body shots too. I think it's here. Anyways, Denisenko's able to do it because after he's willing to kick to the head at a very close range, and most people in the clinch are focused on body. Denisenko's immediate one of his defenses besides the flick in the body is just going straight to the head, and that's something Daehoon runs into. Besides that, Denisenko also sets on a double, which is not something people normally use, and so props to Denisenko. Great job on defense, holding out against Daehoon for so long. I think that well, let me check. Yeah, he does a great job. And he's fought Daehoon like I don't even know how many times, but he fought Daehoon so many times. Daehoon ends up winning later on a body shot. He figures out later that Denisenko's back flank this side is open, and he capitalizes on that multiple times. He's trying to capitalize here, but he goes back to it more so during the golden point round. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty much the game. He has a lot of just to emphasize stamina, ridiculous amount of stamina. And so I watched this fight with Zhao, and it immediately becomes apparent. I'm just gonna skip forward so the video's not too long. It immediately becomes apparent that one Daehoon's as you're watching this, Daehoon's stronger than he is because whenever he cuts, Zhao gets forced back like very visually. You can watch. Hold on. Like as soon as he cuts, Zhao's forced back. And it's not like it's just a cut and he stands there. It's he gives up ground against Daehoon when he gets cut. Oh, low kick. Okay. So this is a score in the beginning, and they're doing aggregate scores, and you can tell it starts to slip away from China really big until we get to this part where it's 46 to 13, and Daehoon's tired, I'm sure, and he's still going in at Zhao every couple of seconds. One, two, yeah, like 2 seconds. Like, dude, you don't need to go in anymore. There's no way. 30 seconds in this kind of a deficit, there's no way he's coming back. There's no way. But I think it's just out of habit already that Daehoon's coming in again and again and again. I mean, Zhao's trying what he can, but you can tell he's just. Daehoon didn't even do anything. He fell over, man. Like, that's how exhausted. Oh, no. Yeah. That's how exhausted Zhao is trying to fight Daehoon. Um, and it's all brought through offensive pressure. So the main things to take away from Daehoon's game, his accuracy is really good. His kicking, I'm not saying like accuracy. I'm saying like accuracy on the hogu. His cut generally aims for this area. His back leg left generally aims from this area. So he knows he only has like 5 or 6 weapons: front leg axe, front leg flick, front leg cut, um, back leg left to the body, back kick sometimes maybe, and then he has like 2 or 3 weapons on the inside. Like that's not that many weapons, but he's really good at using all of them. He's really good at changing the variables about when he uses them, and above all, he's in your face 24/7. Like I don't know how many videos I can cover. You can watch literally almost any Daehoon video, and you're gonna watch the offensive pressure. And for the most part, like I'd say 3/4 of his opponents can't even stand against him stamina wise. And then on top of the stamina, he's physically strong. And so it's like I said before, I give a lot of credit to Daehoon for pushing the game and pushing all the world athletes and opening kind of everyone's eyes to what is possible in this game if you're willing to put the stamina in. And it's literally like be ready to engage someone every 3 seconds. And dude, if you can do that consistently and you stay strong, like dude, that's Daehoon's whole game. There's not much else I see that is too above and beyond. He just forces mistakes repeatedly, And dude, if you're fighting him, just good luck. And you have to be on the same level as him stamina wise, and then you have to try and deal with holding like you need to you need to find a way to assert your game against his game. And there are times where some people are able to do it through footwork, like um, there's the Grand Prix that was held in Africa where the Iranian player was able to use footwork against him, and it caught Daehoon off guard, and he was able to assert himself for a little bit, but over time the Iranian stopped doing it, and so Daehoon just got to use his game again. So I think that may be it for Daehoon coverage. There's a lot of games, but in terms of figuring his opponents out, it's pretty similar. He's just which one of my five weapons can counter your weapon? What's your main weapon as I'm pushing you? Okay, cool. Let's see how you do in the third round now. Like I said, guys, he has a lot of film. If you guys want me to go like more in depth or into a specific fight about how he's breaking someone down specifically, I can do that. But Daehoon's overall game is just get in your opponent's face. If you don't kick, I'm going to kick. If you kick at me, that's fine because I've practiced defense. My blocking is pretty awesome, so you can try and get past that. And as soon as you're done kicking, I'm going to kick you again. Um, I that's general. Like, it is a major oversimplification, but the physical prowess and ability to be able to do that is ridiculously difficult. And so that might be it for today, guys. Man, if you guys got any questions or more comments or want me to cover a specific fight of Daehoon, I think that would be better. In general, I think in the future, instead of covering like whole fighters, it would be better to give me fights, and I can break that down a little bit further. Because if we're doing a general broad overview of a fighter, it's just like this is a weapon, this is the overall game plan, and that's what he uses over a long series of fights, and that's how he keeps winning. But yeah, if you guys have any fight recommendations, please shoot those my way, like specific fight recommendations. I think that's the direction I want to take this into. Besides that, if you guys got some value, please like or subscribe. And that's it. See you guys next week, man.